this thing on? I do believe it is. My goodness. It's a blessed, wonderful, beautiful, sleepless Thursday afternoon, and it's a little bit toasty, but as you can see, I got the long sleeves on, even though they're a little rolled up. It's not too toasty. In fact, just about the weather I prefer in the summertime, considering I'm a vampire and all. But hopefully everybody's been having a blessed, wonderful, beautiful midsummer July week, no matter where you might be located. Thank you for being tuned in, whether you're watching live or watching afterwards. I do appreciate it big time. Even though I don't got too much to say this week, there's always something I got to say. I never run out of things to say at the end of the day. But what's up, good brother Doomer? Thank you for popping into the chat. Good brother KRS3 popping in on the live episode 111 of Pull Up a Chair. My goodness, 111 of these things already? If I didn't keep track of them, I would have lost count a long time ago. I'm going to let y'all know that. But no, it's been a blessed, wonderful week. Had a great fun time doing Sleepless Radio episode last weekend. Of course, the exclusive episode we did of Saturday night's main event, that was a lot of fun as well. Obviously, I did my live tweet, and I was big time in the Twitter streets during Evolution, and that was a lot of fun watching that pay-per-view, chatting with y'all as well. And thank you to everybody who tuned into last week's episodes, and now it's time to get this week's episodes going, and I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff we got going on this week. A lot of new music that came out, as you know, a lot that we talked about last Friday, and some stuff that's actually came out since then that we didn't know was waiting around the corner as well, and plenty much more on the horizon. But before we dive into any of the new music and everything, I just want to say one more time, hope everybody's been having a blessed, wonderful week. I've been having a pretty darn good week myself. I've been playing a little bit more of the Gears of War story. Obviously, as you guys know, the EP is getting closer and closer to being what I would call ready to be uploaded and sent out into the universe. And I might have a freestyle or two, maybe another surprise on the way as well. We're dropping daily on Twitter and TikTok, no matter if it's even just clips from the shows. We're having a lot of fun. So if you haven't already, go hit that subscribe button and like, and go follow us on all socials as well, so you can stay locked in with your Captain Speaking and the rest of the Sleepless Familia. And if you didn't know already, it is your host to Pull Up a Chair, the creme de la creme, the one that they do, in fact, call him Mr. El Tucker Tente, the ultimate sensei, a.k.a. How about we save the rest for tomorrow night when it's the Arctic Monkeys versus Black Keys, me versus Jonathan Daly for Sleepless Radio episode 250. Who even knows? 3, I think, at this point, something like that. I think I'm right. And then we will not have Scotty Two-Stone joining us tomorrow night, but we will have Jonathan Daly taking his seat for this week's episode of Bumps and Bruises. But to kick off this episode of Pull Up a Chair, thank y'all for being locked in with me. Wanted to kick it off by saying, I think God proved my point on Wednesday night. I think he proved it yesterday. I've been saying for years that nobody should go to a Coldplay concert. And now a bad lucky couple is realizing that the last thing they ever should have done on that bad luck Wednesday night was go see a Coldplay show. For those that didn't see what went viral today, making the rounds, the main character of the timelines today is 2 astronomers. One's the CEO and the other one's an HR lady. Let's just start with that. And they decided to, kind of feel the moment, which I don't know what moment you're having at a Coldplay show. If anything, I'd be having the same moment that the guy had at the Jason Aldean Country Show in Vegas. Hold on there, dude. I don't want to get myself canceled. Just jokes. But needless to say, though, he must have heard something up there. And they were having a moment, and he had his arms wrapped around her, and they decided to do like a kiss cam kind of thing. And when Chris Martin kicked the camera over to him, he unfortunately, which I'll tell you my issue with it, but you could tell both of them were flabbergasted, baffled. Anything that is a synonym. That's always a word that stumped me. But anything that is anything like a synonym of that is definitely how they felt. And you can see it right there on their faces. However, my issue with it, though, was he should have no-sold it. Because now that it's came out, somebody already, man, those Reddit and Twitter detectives, they don't miss nothing, was able to find his wife's Facebook, the CEO, because the woman was the HR lady, obviously. Well, you don't know what to identify with. Now, hold on there. But when you look at the clip of it, which if you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. It's funny as hell. But I think he should have no-sold it. Because the fact that he sold it made Chris Martin make the awkward comment of like, oh, maybe they're just shy or maybe they're having an affair. And because that's literally what he said. And then like when you're looking at him, first off, they oversold it. Turns out the guy's wife ends up dropping her last name from Facebook, taking him out the bio, which That right there, that lets you know you got a long climb back up your mountain, brother, if you're getting the last name removed from the Facebook profile. My goodness. But no, I think he should have no-sold it. Let me try to shoot homie some bail now. Come on. Us men, we're going to ride together, I thought. But no, let's try to shoot homie some bail and play devil's advocate. He never should have sold it like that. I would have gave her a tap on the side, like just go with it. Camera will be off in 2 seconds, 3 seconds. We're not famous. We're not famous, really. Just let the camera hit us, let it go right back off. Fuck it. It was the fact that they sold it like that that made Chris Martin made that comment and make people go, hold on, let me take this video and upload it to Twitter. But in the end, though, my point was proved. Nobody ever should have been to a Coldplay show in the first place. That was their first mistake. That's where everything went downhill, is the moment that they bought tickets and willingly walked in to a Coldplay show. So that's why I have a hard time shooting homie some bail, because it's like if you're having a moment to that, I don't want to tell you, I wouldn't have ever been caught dead at a Coldplay show. Like I said, I would have had thoughts that the certain individual in the middle of Jason Aldean's unlucky set in Vegas had. But yeah, I mean, when you get caught on the camera like that, I mean, first off, you're playing a dicey game being the CEO going after the HR lady anyways. I mean, that's a dice roll and a half if I've ever seen one. I mean, that was the first thing that kind of caught my attention out of the whole thing. I'm like, the CEO did what with who? But hey, love wins, you know? So who knows? Maybe they were right for each other. Obviously, they both like Coldplay, which means they're a little bit deranged in the head and delusional. So who knows? Maybe they're a match made in heaven. But that's what you get, though, for going to Coldplay. Now, the other thing, though, that I've been seeing stirring up the timelines as of the past couple of days, because, well, she's been stirring up the timeline now for a while. In fact, I've been talking about her briefly, it feels like all year long, because she keeps making headlines with everything else that's not music. That individual that I'm talking about is the Queen Barb herself, Nicki Minaj. For those that didn't see, Nicki Minaj decided to have yet another. She's DJ Khaled with the Twitter crash outs this year. She woke up on Tuesday and said another one. So Punch tweeted in the wee hours of the morning, broken Barbies, about a record that supposedly is being pushed by, I don't know if it's Doechii, but some artist that supposedly he's working closely with. But Nicki Minaj got wind of that tweet. Of course, she somehow, some way thought that it was aimed at her because, God forbid, you mention any form of a Barbie and she's not involved with it. Just ask the Barbie soundtrack, because I'm sure Margot Robbie didn't want her on 3 joints. But no, I get it. It fits. But at the end of the day, back to point, she decided then to start going at TDE, going at Punch, going at Doechii, going at SZA, saying that she's way more successful than all them, which if you look at the all-time stats, yes, we know that Nicki Minaj is the queen of hip-hop. Yes, there was just a report that came out that said she's, I believe, the top 2 selling, I wanted to say it said something about R&B or pop, something like that, maybe hip-hop, but up there is literally the top 2 selling female. I mean, Nicki Minaj at this point, it's no doubt stamped forever. Sure, her stats are there, her legacy's there, the reign's there. But at this point, I just feel like, and I've gotten to a couple arguments over the past couple days over on Twitter about this, I personally feel like at this point in time, in 2025, in mid-July, that Nicki Minaj is no longer mainly relevant for her music currently. She's more relevant for her Twitter crash outs and her Instagram live crash outs that she seems to just keep embarking on over the span of what seems like now going on a couple of years. Because you're going at Doechii, you're going at SZA, you're going at people over a tweet that had nothing to do with you. Nothing. And then now you make yourself look stupid for going out on that ledge. And then SZA's able to embarrass you with a double entendre diss on the Twitter timeline. And you got Doechii paying you no mind. And now you got SZA ignoring your last 50 tweets. So now you're just barking at a wall, Nicki. Now, you guys know, I always say I'm a Barb. I love Nicki. Got a lot of Nicki in my phone. I like Pink Friday, too. I was a fan of about half those joints. But at some point, as I always say, you got to call this shit down the middle. I firmly believe, and I'll stand 10, 20 toes on it, whatever, that Nicki Minaj right now is doing all of these crash outs because she realizes that all these other females are much more relevant for their music currently than Nicki is. And I think that's eating her up. And I think it's clearly getting to her. I think it's put a couple of notches and dents in her ego. And personally, I think it's showing. Like I said, for those that didn't see, it's mostly just Nicki barking at the SZA tree because SZA responded very quickly and briefly, kept it in a very brief exchange until she finally realized, what am I doing here? What am I arguing over? Because one of my managers tweeted something in the morning about another artist that he's working with that has nothing to do with me. What Jay-Z say? Wise men don't argue with fools because from a distance you can't tell who's who. And Nicki, I love you, but you're looking like a fool. You're looking like a fool. You're painting your own clown makeup. Nobody's doing that to you. We love you, Nicki. At least I do. I know the Barbs are still riding with you to the death. They're riding with you like Gerard Butler and the 300 people did. Nicki is the LeBron of female rappers, Doomer says. The more she crashes out like this, the more it's ruining her legacy. And now that goes into where I was kind of taking that point. How much more can she do this before we start saying, are you trying to do your best Kanye impression? I know you compared him to LeBron, which I love a good LeBron comparison. But I also see a little bit of Kanye in there as far as the deliberately ruining your legacy goes. No one's telling you to do this. There's no reason to be doing this. And like originally it was a thing of like, oh, well, Nicki only has a problem with so-and-so because, well, this and da-da-da-da, this and that and the third. The list is long now. And at some point, the list gets so long of people saying that I've done you wrong that it starts to look like, well, that's weird because all the other names on that list don't say that the other names on that list are doing them wrong. They're just saying that you're doing me wrong. So are you the problem, Nicki, or is it your list of 15 people that you've won at? Because at this point, who do you like? Ice Spice? No, she ruined that when she sat with Taylor. Sexy Red? No. How'd she ruin that? She shouted out Cardi. You want to work with Cardi? No. Okay. You want to work with SZA? You tried. Apparently, no, that didn't work out. Now you're crashing out. Okay. Who's left for you? Beyonce? I don't think she's rushing for a Nicki feature. I don't think the Nicki feature does what it used to. Look at that remix that just came out on the Carter 6. They rushed that out in a week to put it on the deluxe. I didn't see that have the Nicki Barb effect that it normally would have, say, 5 years ago. Didn't seem to have that at all. In fact, it seemed like it fell kind of flat. I mean, don't get me wrong, Pink Friday 2 had some hits, but I think for music relevancy right now, she is realizing that that light is dimming and fading, which you've heard me say that that's where everything started with Kanye, when he realized that he can't keep up with the level of competition that's now standing by his side. He can no longer flick the autopilot on, say the same shit, and do the same shit and expect it to work. The same gimmick doesn't work over and over again. Nicki crashing out and claiming that people owe her money and this one did her wrong and that one snubbed her on this. I think she's looking like the problem. So, Nicki, we love you, but come on, don't Kanye yourself. Don't LeBron yourself. You built too much of a great, impactful legacy that will be everlasting on hip-hop. Please do not tarnish it. There's still time to just keep it at this dumb shit talk, let it go, and move on. Let me clear the throat. I do a lot of talking. Don't mind me. But yeah, no, for those that saw that beef, Nicki, come on. Get off Twitter. Stop it. No more crashing out. We're done. Speaking of which, I'm wearing a Schoolboy Q crash out long sleeve, and I didn't even really necessarily plan at all for that. But here we are. The other thing, though, that I wanted to talk about, obviously, as you know, going into every week before we dive into more news, we have to take a quick little pivot, clear the air, clean out the air, put in some positivity, and let's share what we think about some new music, shall we? And as well, what I've been loving that we do is covering what we're looking forward to coming out tonight as well and speculating on that. But for new music reviews, I know as of last week we talked that Let God Sort 'Em Out was fresh off the press. I gave it a couple listens at the time. And ever since then, it's been the album that's been most in my rotation. Pretty much since Some Sexy Songs for You and Balloonerism and The Good, Bad, The Dollar Menu. It's been at the top of the rotation order. I've been loving absolutely everything about it. The more and more it's with me. I've even came to change my mind on the Nas feature. I think Nas had an incredible feature. I think the production from Pharrell, I'll reiterate that. I think that was absolutely incredible. I can't believe that he saved his best beats for No Malice, Push, and the Minions. But I thought that production was incredible. Birds Don't Sing ended up being one of my favorites on there as well. Now understanding what No Malice and Push's verses were about. No Malice's late father, Push's late mother. And that's a very powerful record. Seeing them perform that on Tiny Desk definitely elevated my opinion on that even more. I saw that it's about to do, it seems like 90K first week. Shout out the Clips. Not easy to do, but the rollout paid off, and hip hop is thriving and striving because of it. So thank you, Clips, for restoring that feeling of what a great traditional OG old school rollout felt like, because it felt incredible. And I'm still sitting with the album. Every performance on every night show has been incredible that I've seen. They've been killing it. They've been crushing it. I can't say it enough. I highly recommend, capital HIGHLY. Highly recommend checking out that Let God Sort 'Em Out album. Ended up sitting with that, like I said. I've been listening to it a ton, probably at least 10 full listens at this point. I did end up listening to Justin Bieber's album as well. Wifey wouldn't let it go. She's a true believer of Bieber through and through, true firm believer. And she wanted me to check out the Swag album. And I got to be honest, there's a couple joints on there I liked a lot. I did like Yukon. That one popped up to me. I like The Way It Is with Gunna. I actually thought Gunna did pretty good on that. I like the Sexy Red joint, but you know me. Queen Sexy. Love Sexy Red. But then we got blessed with another album. It's hot outside, and he spun the block on us one more time. Summertime Butch 2. Benny the Butcher. The Butcher was coming, and he came. Pause. But no, Benny the Butcher, though, dropped a great sequel to Summertime Butch 1. Now I wonder, though, when Benny's hitting it from the back, do you think he ever does that? Butcher coming, baby! Butcher coming! And then he's like, ugh! And she's like, the Butcher came. All right, I should have never went too far down that rabbit hole. I'm sorry, guys. That was uncalled for. I'm sorry. But no, Summertime Butch, though, incredible album. Hey, yo! Hey, yo! But no, it's Westside Booty. But no, love the new Benny the Butcher album, though, Summertime Butch. Quick little 12 joints. What'd it say? 33 minutes. Listen to it twice all the way through. We got a Mike Will Made It beat on there. I love that record, Told You So. My favorite record on there, though, is In the Wall featuring Bun B. Love seeing Bun B get a feature on there. And Benny's last verse on Jasmine's was insane as well. And then today, I didn't get to check it out yet, but I saw Freddie Gibbs drop a new Alfredo movie with Alchemist. So I'm excited to check that out excited to check that out tonight as well before I put in a good call to the Good Brother Doomer. And then, of course, we can't mention Good Brother Doomer, and we can't mention the new joints and all the new music that came out. Oh, shit, he said that's my favorite joint, too. Bun B killed that. Gotta love a good Bun B verse, man. He smoked that. Absolutely. But Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist also spinning the block back with another sequel. We're getting the first single. In fact, we got the first single of Alfredo 2. We got 1995, my birth year, baby. 95, baby. 95 to infinity. We got Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist also spinning the block with Alfredo 2, 1995. I actually listened to it as I was firing up the episode for the first couple of times. And right off my first listens, I loved it. Thought it was incredible. Again, I think 2025 has been an incredible, blessed, and wonderful year for music. So many new drops and so much great projects that have been coming out and great new joints as well. And so much more still yet to come. I mean, we're only halfway through the year. So, I mean, there's still a lot more drops that we're looking forward to. And speaking of which, let's see what we got coming tonight. Let's pull it up right here. Fun fact, they called it, I love fun facts, they called it 1995 because 1985 was the first single on Alfredo 1. See, Good Brother Doomer, KRS3, we can't do Pull Up a Chair without you because I just lack knowledge like that, because even when something's right in my face, I'm a blind man and I can't see it. So thank you for actually throwing that one out there. I love a good fun fact. I did not know that 1985 was the first single, but that makes sense because you know me and song titles. But for new music dropping at midnight, we're going to kick it off with some albums. We got Raekwon, The Emperor's New Clothes. I actually did see a little bit of that track list. I saw he's got Griselda on there. I'm actually looking really, really forward to that Raekwon album. Looking really forward to that. We got an EP from Sante, 4L. Not too hip to that, but it's there. We're getting a new Milksy album, Therinator. We're getting a new G-Lo album, League of My Own album. We got Joyner Lucas, ADHD 2, also coming out. So we're going to have a new Joyner album, which I'm not even going to cover that Skepta versus Joyner Lucas diss back and forth. That was awful. That was like pre-show. Everybody's finding their seats, and there's two guys that actually care about it in the crowd. That Skepta Joyner Lucas back and forth was awful. That didn't do anything for either of them. But for singles tonight, we got Central C and Drake, supposedly something to be announced. We got Young Nudie, 21 Savage, Project Pat, and Coop with a new record called Ice-T. We got a new record from Yeet called I'm Yeet. Okay, he's taking the Groot approach from Guardians of the Galaxy. Interesting. We got, I'm not even going to say it. I don't talk about that man no more. Trippie Redd woke up, the face, so he's got, looks like maybe a new joint, maybe two coming out. We got DJ Aladdin and Bolt coming out with a record called Fuck It with an X instead of a U. Imagine that. Then we got Georgiana I can't pronounce that. And Kino with a record called Rattle. We got Saweetie with a record called Botham. We got Logic with another record called FOMO. And we have a Tommy Richmond single called Miami, which I'm definitely looking forward to some of that. I'm a big Central C guy. I'm a big Drake guy, as you guys know. So I'm looking really forward to that. I'm looking forward to checking out the Logic single, kind of seeing what that's about. Looking really forward, though, to that Raekwon album. And kind of looks like it might be a light weekend. I probably will check out the Trippie. I'll check out the G-Lo just to kind of see what I think about it so I can at least critique it on the next episode. And most likely I'll probably be shitting on it, but I'll go into it with an open mind nevertheless. But for my highly recommendations of this week, though, Let God Sort 'Em Out by the Clips, Summertime Butch 2, especially that joint with Bun B, and of course my birth year, 1995, Alfredo, off of Alfredo 2. But a lot of great new music out, a lot of great new music still yet to come, and it looks like we got some fun new music coming tonight as well. But speaking of music, I wanted to kind of still talk about an artist, but I wanted to talk about their filmography as we pivot into TV and movies. So with that being said, I'm going to pose the question before I take a sip. But me and Wifey were watching Are We There Yet last night. And for those that maybe don't know, Are We There Yet? It's a movie with Ice Cube, did it in the early 2000s. It's about a movie of him trying to win over this girl that he has a crush on. She has 2 kids. She's divorced. He has to try to step up while she has to go on a work retreat thing. And he's got to take care of the kids and then get them to where she's located. Turns into a whole snafu, a whole adventure of just crazy scenario after crazy scenario after crazy scenario. But eventually they get there. Spoiler alert, it's over 20 years old. Ice Cube ends up getting the girl. The kids love him. They become one big happy family. But love the movie, by the way, though. Incredible Ice Cube movie. I hadn't seen that movie in years. But my question, though, that I wanted to ask and that I wanted to kind of talk about is, I asked my wife when we were watching, where's Ice Cube been? I feel like I know Ice Cube's been outside. He's been doing music. He's been touring. He just came to Blossom last year around where I live. But at the same time, I feel like I haven't really seen him in movies in a while. Like, I know there was rumors that Friday, there's supposed to be a new Friday movie for years now, but apparently it's greenlit and then it's not greenlit, and then they have Chris Tucker, then they don't have Chris Tucker, and then they have a cast, they don't have a cast, they have a budget, they don't have a budget. So it's like, I don't really know what's going to happen with the new Friday movie. It kind of seems like it's stuck in limbo. But when I looked up his filmography, from what I saw, his last movie that he had any association with, he wasn't even on screen for, and it was Straight Outta Compton. He was a producer for it. And before that, it was 22 Jump Street. So I just kind of wondered, like, where Ice Cube's been, because I thought Ice Cube had a great filmography. I loved his Triple X State of the Union movie. I loved Are We There Yet? Are We Done Yet? Obviously, you got the Friday movies. You got, I'm drawing blanks here. Barbershop, You got Boys in the Hood. You got, I mean, there's a lot of classics there. And I just feel like I haven't seen him in movies in a while. I think he's still working on the Friday reboot. He just got the rights to it back from the studio. Okay. So there is some promise for Ice Cube then. Because, yeah, I was wondering, like, wow, I don't know. Where's Ice? You know, like I said, where's Ice Cube been? I kind of miss him. You know, I kind of always thought that he added, no matter if it was comedy or action, he always added like a great element to the movie. Always fun on screen and always put out fun movies to watch. But speaking of where Ice Cube's been, I think we're going to finally figure out where Ben Gates has been. For those that don't know Ben Gates is Nicolas Cage plays in National Treasure, and there's a new National Treasure movie in the works, and it makes you speculate and it makes you wonder, what is Ben Gates going to be discovering, or what's he going to be retrieving? Some people think it's going to be him finding the Epstein files. Could be. Some people could think that it's him storming Area 51, trying to find the first alien. Also could be. Some people think it's him trying to retrieve Ghislaine Maxwell. Also could be a chance of that. However, though, I wouldn't mind seeing him go after the Epstein files. That would be kind of interesting. I mean, it might have some controversy around the movie, but imagine that. Like, imagine Ben Gates is the one that has to go retrieve him. I know Stephen A. Smith wouldn't be happy about that. Neither would old Trump. But Stephen A., though, would really, really hate it. But no, I saw that they're coming out with a new National Treasure movie. I'm not going to lie. I really liked the first National Treasure and the second National Treasure growing up. To this day, I'm a firm believer that there's still a book of secrets. And he's the only guy that knows where they're at. And he found it in that tunnel on that weird lucky night that he just so happened to find his way into the White House on the White House lawn. But no, I think it will be interesting to see what they will actually have him retrieving in the movie. Like, I saw some people that were seriously speculating. Some people were saying that he's going to go after the Holy Grail. That I could see. I don't think they're actually going to let Nicolas Cage as Ben Gates go after the Epstein files. But if they did, I'll buy that unrated version. I'll tell you what, I'll buy that DVD 11 out of 10 times. I'll buy it 101 out of 100 times. If they put that on the director's cut, absolutely take my money. But no, shout out Nick Cage reprising his role as Ben Gates. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I love Nicolas Cage. There's no more actor on God's green earth more versatile than Nicolas Cage. There isn't a role that man hasn't played, or if there's one that he hasn't played yet, sign him up, because he will definitely do that role. Shout out Nick Cage, one of my favorite actors of all time. Like I said, nobody more versatile than Nick Cage in my book. Not a soul. That dude can be Ben Gates finding the Epstein files in National Treasure 3, then turn around and be a weatherman, then turn around and drink himself to death. Then he can turn around and be a arms dealer and the Lord of War. I mean, there's really just unlimited potential and possibility. I mean, he could even play himself in the, what they call it, the Massive Talent of Nicolas Cage or something like that, which is a phenomenal movie. But now, shout out National Treasure 3. Also, I don't know if you guys saw, I've been keeping you guys updated every week I've been watching the new Trainwreck episodes. I can't get enough of that show, man. I eat that shit up every Tuesday. But their new episode is called Balloon Boy, about this dad who was on apparently wife swap, and he got a little bit of itch for the fame. So he started building experiments and started building shit at his house. Well, his 6-year-old son wandered into this homemade flying saucer UFO looking thing that he built. And he didn't have the thing tarped down and tied down right. So when the kid got into it and they ended up sending the thing up into the air, his kid drifted all the way throughout the air. So he thought, because turns out the kid was never in there at all. He stashed him up in the attic. It was one big ploy to try to get himself some publicity. But watch the documentary. It's not my favorite episode of the season by any means, but it was a lot of fun. And then that leads me into talking about sports and talking about the last two things I wanted to talk about before we get up out of here. First of which being something that I thought we could have a little bit of fun with as the NFL season is shaping up. We got 32 teams that we're looking at. As you wonder every time before you enter the NFL season, it makes you wonder on what teams are going to end up being the most dominant. What teams do you think are going to fall flat? What teams do we think are going to do better than what they're projected? What teams do we think are going to do worse than what they're projected? So I thought that I could have a little bit of fun with y'all and fun on TikTok and Twitter and Reddit and all that good stuff by asking y'all and asking myself, of course, as well, who do we think is the most underrated and overrated NFL teams for both AFC and NFC going into this NFL season? Of course, I'll get us started, and I can't wait to see your guys' feedback. But for most underrated team out of the AFC, I would say look out for the Cincinnati Bengals, because I think the Bengals, based on how their last season ended and based on what I saw of their attitudes in the show quarterbacks, especially Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase's attitude, they're coming out guns blazing. The Cincinnati Bengals have a point to prove, and they're ready to dunk their nuts on everybody's forehead in the NFL this year and show why they deserve to be back in the Super Bowl and in contention. I think the Cincinnati Bengals, even across both conferences, could be easily the most underrated team going into this season. I have them projected to at least win 12 to 13 games, and I think they're going to put the league on caution. For most underrated NFC team, I would go the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going with Baker Mayfield and Bucky Irvin, I'm keeping it a Bucky. And especially with Mike Evans, always good for 1,000 yards as long as you can keep him healthy. I believe they still got Chris Godwin, if I'm not mistaken. They got some good young rookie talent. They got their dual running backs with Bucky and Rashad White. I really think that the Buccaneers, I'm going to say the same thing as the Bengals. I think going into this season, I could easily see them winning 12 to 13 games. I think it's very, very plausible that can happen. For most overrated teams, it's a little tricky. But for most overrated AFC team, I would say if you're just looking at their talent, I mean, granted, I know they got Josh Allen, but who does he have to really throw to? Shakir and Keon Coleman? Dalton Kincaid? I mean, he's got James Cook, who's now up in the air with his contract extension. I personally think I could see the Bills. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to lose under 10 games, but I don't see the Bills being a big-time threat this year. So for overrated AFC, give me the Bills. And now this is the one that's going to stir some shit. Sorry to my friends that are Fly Eagles Fly fans, but I think for the most overrated NFC team, even though they're coming off the year that they just had, Super Bowl and all, I think the most overrated team going into this year is the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that the tush push at this point could very easily be figured out. I think Saquon Barkley's not going to have the same year that he just had last year. And I think that with the team aging and with the league evolving around them, I could easily see the Philadelphia Eagles crashing out of the playoffs and not making it past the divisional round. Again, do I think they're going to fall completely on their faces? No. Do I think they're going to have the same run or anything close that they had to last year? No, I don't think so. But I'm excited to see what you guys got on that for most underrated and overrated NFL, AFC, and NFC teams. And then to close us off, a Pull Up a Chair episode 111. Wanted to bring up, I know we'll save most of the wrestling talk for tomorrow night, but something I did just want to kind of just rant on real quick for us AEW fans out there. I need to make a PSA to us AEW fans, and it's not going to be comfortable, and it's going to sound harsh, but I promise you it's with all love. Tony Khan does not care about us. He does not. He doesn't care about it. Doesn't care about what we think. Doesn't care about our input on social media. Doesn't care about our hashtag. Doesn't care about who we want pushed, what we want to happen. He doesn't care. He wants to book the show how he wants to book the show. He even just came out and said that. He's no longer taking advice from people. He's not holding production meetings, never has in the first place, but he's not entertaining that. He doesn't listen to social media. He wants to book the show at how he sees fit. And you know what? If I had a billionaire father and I had also a lot of money and I had all these resources to start my own wrestling promotion, you know what? I'd probably do the same thing. I'd probably do the exact same thing. I'd treat it like WWE GM mode, and I can keep the belt on Nia Jax for 8 straight years. Tony, if that's what you want to do, guess what? You have great wrestlers on your roster. You put them in fun, entertaining matches that I enjoy watching, so I make do with what you give me. All In, I thought, was really solid. I'll talk more about it tomorrow. You have some of the best wrestlers in the world. That's a fact. But at the end of the day, you're random booking, you're booking of venues. You do not care about what any of your fans think. And that's okay. But I just wish you would just come out and just say that little part, even though you basically did come out and say that. But Tony, AEW fans, we can't be getting mad at Tony saying that he doesn't know what he's doing, because he clearly knows what he's doing. And he doesn't care that he doesn't have the business knowledge to grow the company. So if he wants to just cater to the same AEW cult and not grow the audience, and if he wants to go from a 28K seated audience to a barely over 1,000 people in a bingo hall in the middle of Chicago after your biggest show of the year, and he doesn't see anything wrong with that and doesn't care to see anything wrong with that, then why do we get all worked up over Tony Khan's booking decisions? So with that being said, I'll always be an AEW fan until the ship sinks. And until that point, we're going to ride high and we're going to watch some great pro wrestling on Wednesdays, sometimes Thursdays, sometimes Saturdays. God only knows when he'll move the show next. But with that being said, always an AEW fan. And with that being said, always a pro wrestling fan. And with that being said, keep the love high and the hate low. Wake up with a smile on. Remind yourselves of 3 things you're grateful for. Thank you guys for being tuned in to Pull Up a Chair episode 111. Turn it up to 111. And then we got Sleepless Radio episode 253 tomorrow. Arctic Monkeys versus the Black Keys. Nice little 12-round bout. And as soon as that ends, me and Danathan Daly will go live for a great late night episode of Bumps and Bruises. And with that being said, I hope you're having a blessed and wonderful day and an even more blessed one tomorrow. And keep the love high and the hate low. Wake up with a smile on, look in the mirror and say, I love you. Peace.